Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. In this episode, I want to talk about a problem that's creeping up more and more in collectors as the game industry matures, and that is a problem that I'm going to dub the digital first dilemma. When a video game comes out digitally first, before a physical copy is either announced or made, or even people are aware of that it's going to be coming out down the road. And this can come in a few different variants, so I want to dissect it and break it down so you guys understand exactly what I'm talking about and you know what to look out for. JT. While oftentimes it's a mere side effect of so many indie studios and small-time game developers releasing high-quality games, being uncertain of if their games will flourish or not after release, and unable to pour a tremendous amount of capital into the gamble that is making a physical release. It makes sense, it's understandable. And yes, for collectors at the end of the day, it sucks. But such is life when you live in the golden age of being a gamer. I want to be clear, the focus of this video isn't to hammer small indie developers like that who have legitimate gripes on affording publishing large quantities of physical releases. No, the focus is to make you aware of the intricacies going on behind the scenes of game development and how some companies should be 100% releasing a physical version of their game in question, decide to delay the physical release in order to secure maximum digital sales first. Oftentimes, small indie developers or game companies will be making a game, but they don't have necessarily the finances to produce it physically worldwide. And that makes sense. Now, oftentimes when that situation's happened, if the game is a really good game, a big publisher may come in and scoop it up and say, hey, we'll handle the publishing rights of this physical version of the game for you for a fee, and that's how it gets made physically after the initial digital release. And that's perfectly fine. That makes sense. Nobody's trying to screw anyone over. That's just a perfectly fine business model and how it's worked out in modern day gaming. But sometimes it's a little bit more sketchy. Games like Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, made by Lizard Cube, that was actually published by a few different publishers depending on where it was released. .emu, Nicholas, and Head Up Games. Whole bunch of different publishers came in to assist with making physical copies of this game. And that made sense because it was made by Lizard Cube, a tiny indie developer that needed assistance in publishing this game around the world. Or a more recent example, Moss for PlayStation VR, made by Polyarc, another really small indie developer studio that needed assistance in publishing a physical copy of this, and they didn't get approval for that until far after the initial release of the game. Those games, I'm okay with those, that makes sense. But games that start to toe the line and get into a gray area are games like Rocket League for the Nintendo Switch specifically. Now, I'm not talking about Rocket League for all the other consoles and PC when it came out previously, because it's a small game developer as well, making Rocket League for those consoles. But by the time Rocket League made it to the Switch, Psyonix, the developer of the game, should have probably known that the game would sell well, and has made enough money from previous releases of Rocket League to know that they're probably going to be making a physical version for the Nintendo Switch. The game already came out on physical releases for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC dating all the way back to 2015. Yet when it finally made its way to the Nintendo Switch on November 4th of 2017, it was initially released as a digital only, with no official word on a physical release. Fans of the game that wanted to play it had no choice but to succumb to the eShop for the ability to do so. And why I say this is a gray area is because it took a few months until Warner Brothers came in and did the publishing for Psyonix for Rocket League. And you would think that they would have gotten to work a little bit earlier with a publisher to see if they could get a physical release as soon as a digital release was coming out to the Nintendo Switch. I don't know what happened, so I don't want to just say, hey, Psyonix is wrong here, but it's definitely questionable. That's not even close to the biggest offender here. I want to talk about Sega. I want to talk about Sonic Mania. I want to talk about why Sonic Mania is Exhibit A to what is wrong with the game industry right now. Sonic Mania had a digital download release date of August 15th, 2017. And we had heard rumors that Sega was planning a physical release, but launch of the actual physical release was delayed. Most likely it was due to ensuring maximum sales on the digital download prior to announcing the actual physical version. Now, the physical version was announced on March 18th of 2018, that will be releasing on July 17th of 2018 as Sonic Mania Plus. And it's going to be available for $29.99, coming with a 32-page art book, a Genesis reversible cover, and holographic packaging, along with 2 new characters and an encore mode. Everything that's being added and put into this physical release, one would think it would be called the Collector's Edition and not simply Sonic Mania Plus. But if you remember, there's a reason why they can't call it the Collector's Edition. Sega managed to trick enough people into buying a Collector's Edition for a game that actually didn't even physically exist. The game was only made available digitally at initial release. That's impressive marketing, and I'll be honest, they almost got me to bite. And while this trend isn't as bad as digital first, then a physical box with a digital code inside of it, which I spoke about in my Cuphead getting a physical release video, it's genuinely concerning because it's picking up speed. Initially, I thought game companies like Limited Run Games and Strictly Limited were a savior to physical media collectors. But as time has gone on, the perception of how a publisher goes about releasing a game has changed with it. Some may argue in favor of these developers, say they have the right to release whatever they want, however they damn well want to. To which I say, yep, and the consumer has the right to speak with their wallets to stop this practice dead in its tracks. Some may argue that patience is the key to buying games in the modern era, with uncertainty on pricing and how a game will ultimately be released, alongside which special features will be brought out with it, and how it's to be enjoyed by the end user. Why should gamers be at the mercy of these developers? We are the customers. We should be directing them on what we will be purchasing, not the other way around. This is artificial patience, man-made waiting periods created as an attempt to increase profits in the long run. It's no secret that a publisher makes far more money by selling a digital game for 20 bucks than they would for selling a physical game for the same price, or even more. But as time has gone on, the advent of new technology has opened up new ways to deliver entertainment to customers by cutting corners and making as much profit as possible, giving, in essence, less of a product to the customer for the same amount of money at the end of the day. And from a business perspective, I can't really disagree with this, because why fix what isn't broken? If you're able to sell people on the idea of buying a digital game first instead of buying a physical version of a game, of course you're going to go for selling people a digital version. You make more money that way. If customers are willing to double dip on purchases or purchase a download before any knowledge exists of a physical version being available, then move along, there's nothing to see here. But the point of this video is just to make you aware of what's going on behind the scenes with certain game companies and how they may be slightly going down that path of saying, let's offer this game digitally first and not say anything about a physical release to maximize profits as much as possible. Whether the customer decides to fight back with their wallet is ultimately up to you. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. I just want to let you know how I feel about this bad trend in the game industry going digitally first, and while it is understandable and acceptable for smaller game companies, the bigger the company gets, the more concerning it is. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about this situation, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Smash J.